My fellow seniors and I have been asked to speak today in order to inspire the faculty to have a great second semester. But as honored as I am to be here, I think that it is very unnecessary. The teachers of MBA are self-driven, and each one of you set out in August to have a great year, not just a great first semester. Many friends and members of my family have warned against the senior slide, but I am not worried because I know that my teachers will not be pleased only to teach until the last member of the class of 2015 gets his acceptance letter. Instead, they will show the same tenacity that has been expected of us students over the last 6 years. I used to think that I was lucky for continuously getting the best teachers on the Hill, but then I realized it's not the 6 teachers that I get in a year, but it's every faculty member at MBA that is among the elite of academia. Many people in the national area recognize that it's difficult to be admitted to MBA, but most of them do not realize how hard it is to become a teacher here. Not only do you have to be qualified, but you also have to have a flair and a spark that allows you to connect with your students. And for that reason, many of us young men at MBA consider you more than teachers. We consider you friends. After talking to the students at other schools, I realized how fortunate I am to be at MBA. Many of them complain about their teachers all day, except for maybe one of them who they're able to relate to and connect with on a more personal level. But over the last 5.5 years, I cannot think of a single teacher who I'm not happy to have had taught me here. Whether or not you know it, each faculty member here has touched the life of at least one student. Each of your students carries a piece of your class with them. And so please help my schoolmates and I finish out this year and help make the second semester just as good as the first.
Hi, I'm Akeim George, and I'm speaking to you all today. When I first came to MBA in 8th grade, I was blown away by the strong community that was present on campus. Many of the students were very receptive of me, but since I was one of the only of a few that came that year, but it was the faculty members that really made me feel at home here. I remember before even enrolling at MBA, I was met with kindness from 2 faculty members, Mrs. Leckleiter and Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown conducted my admissions interview, which I was extremely nervous for because I'd never been interviewed before, and my mom reminded me every single day of its importance. But Mr. Brown was so friendly that my nerves were immediately gone. And although I don't remember specifics from the interview, it definitely was a major factor in my decision to come to MBA. And of course, I had to come to MBA because of Ms. Leckleiter. She was so incredibly nice to me. And the first teacher I had in 8th grade was Mr. Woolsey, and he always reminded me his name was Woolsey, not Woosley. We didn't always see eye to eye, but I still had an incredible time in his class. Every single day he reminded me that I needed to be on time because I had trouble with that. And I always enjoyed the Woolsey methods that he taught us, and I still use them all, even in Mr. Golliner's calculus class. I believe the faculty and teachers here are different from at other high schools because you all care about us outside of our grades. At my old school, I only had 1 or 2 memorable teachers, and they were in like 3rd grade when they were the only teachers that I had. But here at MBA, every single teacher that I've had has had a lasting impact on me. Whether it be walking into Miss Christensen's room and being confused by the different Latin words on the board, or watching in amazement as Mr. Hutton demonstrated the blues to us on his guitar. There's always memorable moments to be had in every single class. And the care that you all have for the students has also allowed me to develop special relationships with you all that make me feel at home in MBA. For instance, Senior Cam and I feel like he's one of my good friends on campus. He's one of my cross-country coaches, and after learning about his incredible running career, I also learned that he's a pretty good trumpet player as well. So every morning before my advisory, I go to his room, and sometimes we talk about the different jazz that he played and stuff that he has done during his time in bands. And I also am still looking forward to us being able to play sometime. I've been blessed to attend a school with such a wonderful faculty dedicated to building us students into better men. I know that every student should be fortunate to have some of the brightest and most caring teachers around. The community built here is due to the mind-boggling work that you all take on every day. Without you, I've not have been able to have the opportunities that I've had, such as traveling to South Africa or improving as a musician or being able to apply to so many wonderful colleges. Many thanks to all of you for making me feel at home here at MBA.
Good morning. I know my classmates have touched on it, but I just want to reiterate that I believe one of the most important things here at MBA and in life, I think, is a relationship. And when I look back on the time I spent here at MBA, I can't help but first think about the teachers and the people that make school possible. When I look back on a subject that I took, I don't think of the material first, but of the person who taught me. The relationships that I've had with my teachers at MBA are what stick with me most about school. Yes, I've learned how to find the centripetal force of gravity asserted by a roller coaster from Coach Barclay, and the perfect theme introduction to a theme paper from Mr. Kelly, or the great events of the Gilded Age from Dr. Bailey. But what I remember most from these classes are the relationships. I didn't know he'd be here this morning, but I'm going to talk about Mr. Gaither. I had the privilege to learn from him last year, and I can honestly say that although Latin has not always been my favorite subject, I genuinely enjoyed coming to class every day because of the way he taught. From his famous aphorism Monday to just his everyday banter, I found myself engaged in his class. He was a strict professional, but he also knew how to make the whole class laugh, and he knew the line between the two. The thing that I loved most about the way he conducted himself was that he wanted to be teaching us and that he really cared. He certainly wasn't afraid to fail us on a test and grimaced in front of the whole class when he handed back the paper in a very showy way, but he really cared. I received a full appreciation for his care when he emailed me a couple months ago after his retirement to congratulate the football team on the season we've had so far, and he had some extremely nice things to say to me, and just the fact that he already retired and he still emailed me meant a lot to me. I have a fuller appreciation for the knowledge of the Latin language, but what I remember most is the relationship I had with Mr. Gaither. Just what I'm trying to say is to encourage you with just two simple things is to be passionate and to be personable. I believe if you're passionate about what you teach, the student is more likely to respond in a positive way, and if you're personable, a student will be more engaged into what they're learning. And I just want to thank all of you teachers who have taught me, and may not have taught me, but have sacrificed their time to get to know me. And you've made my time here incredible. Thank you.
There's no question that my experience at MBA has been defined by the faculty who have facilitated it, who have guided me through it, who have taught me about their respective subjects, about myself, and about life in general. Sometimes I wonder what it's like to be a teacher, what it's like to keep track of new students every year and form meaningful relationships with them. After all, my 12th grade calculus teacher, Mr. Compton, will always be my 12th grade calculus teacher, the only one. But in this year alone, he has taught multiple classes and many students, not to mention the long lineage of classes he has taught in his almost 50 years at MBA. Will he remember me in the same way that I remember him down the road? It must be impossible to keep so many students straight after so many years. His perspective is inherently different than mine. But I am convinced that Mr. Compton, like all the other teachers here, defy what can be realistically expected. As a student, whether in passing previous teachers in the halls or working with them again later in my career here, I've truly felt that I hold a special place in my teachers' memories, because you take the time to forge friendships with and understandings of the students you teach. The way you interact with students, the level of care and effort you put towards getting to know them will stick with us much longer than the facts and figures you quiz us on, and hopefully we will stick with you. That being said, I wanted to share with you 4 F's, 4 things from my observation that have been effective during my time at MBA, and through that, share with you some of the highlights of my experiences with MBA faculty. Trust me, there are many, in fact, too many to mention today. The first F, be fair. There's little a student appreciates more than a teacher who gives students a fair opportunity to succeed. Be clear with your expectations and with scheduled assignments. While I know there is a discrepancy in teacher and student interpretations of fair, be understanding of this discrepancy and try to find a middle ground. Dr. Shackelford, my 10th grade statistics teacher, is one of the best teachers I've had here. One of the things that made him so unique was that he was so straightforward with us, the students, as to how things would be graded, how the class would be structured, so that we could all put our best feet forward and prepare to do our best. It was his genuine straightforwardness that made his teaching so effective. He was not predictable, but always put us in a position to do the best work possible, to learn the best way possible. As a teacher, it is important to put the variables in the students' hands, let them determine their fates by making expectations clear. And that leads me to the second F, be fun. Don't be predictable and consistent to the point of monotony. Be spontaneous in a fair way. Keep students on the edge of their seats by mixing excitement with the educational material. The same routine every day can get boring even for the most interested of students. I always appreciated how every Friday, Mr. Reynolds would prep us for our Monday vocabulary quiz by making a Prezi with each of the words, each along with a corresponding video or picture that often added humor to what could otherwise be a very dry topic. Occasional conversations about sports or other subjects with Mrs. Roberts, Dr. Tarkington, or Dr. Kinch were always intriguing and changed the pace of daily school life, just like Jeopardy with Mr. Jackson and Mr. Davidson. Visiting the school's cannons with Mr. Brown, learning gardening techniques with Mr. Spiegel, Mr. Barclay is encouraging me and my lab partner to risk it all in the IPS Density Challenge are all part of a long list of my MBA memories. The third F is be forgiving. As trite as it is, everyone makes mistakes, students included. But oftentimes, these mistakes go beyond the grammatical error in a theme or a miscalculated answer on a test. Maybe a student cheats in your class or misses multiple class days for a disciplinary suspension. While punishments are warranted, there's little more difficult than being brought down only to be kept down by accumulating burdens and merciless expectations, despite the strongest efforts to rebound. As I have seen many of you do, give a student a helping hand, a second chance, and they will be ever so grateful for it. When students come before the Honor Council, we always tell them to work on regaining your trust. Help them do that, help them get on the right track. Finally, the fourth F is, excuse me, English teachers, but philanthropy. If you are giving with your time and your energy, and if you go beyond the call of duty, you will make the MBA experience unique for each and every student. I have encountered so many teachers whose efforts to do this have made my experience unforgettable. My advisor, Mr. Moxley, is always there for me when I need him. Whether it is going to him in tears after losing an election freshman year, or his constant efforts to keep our advisory involved and exciting with mini golf, breakfast, and an annual Room at the Inn book drive, he has always been an exciting person to interact with on campus. Mrs. Chin, like so many of you, always makes sure to arrive to school early for help session and to assist her students in whatever ways possible. Mr. Artisans and Mr. McAllister's generosity regarding time, efforts, and equipment have made our broadcasting expansion possible, and I could go on and on about what they have done for me in that regard. Mr. Hutton and Mrs. Christensen have shared in our vision for a revamped bell ringer and all the facets that involves. Mr. Wade Cowan, an alum and a local lawyer, offers his time every year to coach our mock trial team. His countless hours of dedication to teaching MBA students and guiding them through the process has led to the program's history of great success. Senior Cam, in addition to being a dedicated faculty delegate and advisor for the Tilt Shift Summit, drove to and from Atlanta on short notice to secure our visas at the last possible moment after unexpected complications. Mrs. O'Connell, although no longer my teacher, continues to be a confidant and an encouragement for me. But these are just some of the examples of what I have experienced, and the examples are different for each student. You really do make a positive difference in the lives of the students you touch. If you've ever taught me, helped me, worked alongside me, or even said hi to me, know that I am incredibly grateful for your presence in my life. And even if you don't know me, I am so grateful for what each one of you does to make this place as special as it is. I am privileged to be a part of this community in large part because of your roles in it. I know that the many students to come are so fortunate to experience what I have and even more. Thank you.